In this video, we're going to cover 5 reasons you shouldn't move to Chattanooga, Tennessee. My name is Andrew and welcome to the channel. Now, before we go any further, I want to mention that I'm a licensed real estate agent here in Tennessee. So if after watching this video, you're still thinking about moving to Chattanooga, I'd love to help you out. You can reach out with any of the contact info here, or I'll leave ways to contact me in the description below. All right. Let's get into the video. Reason 1 that Chattanooga might not be a good fit for you is it's still a developing city. Now, this can be both a pro and a con. On the one hand, this means opportunity and growth and the excitement of being part of something that's evolving and in many ways being reimagined. On the other hand, though, it means that a lot of the infrastructure is still being developed and that a lot of the amenities that you would expect in a larger urban area aren't fully developed yet. This leads us to reason 2 you shouldn't move here: traffic. With all the growth that Chattanooga has been experiencing, it seems like there's a constant struggle for the roads to keep up with the number of people trying to use them. Also, for what seems like forever, there's been construction going on all of the major intersections, especially where I-75 and 24 meet. Another thing that contributes to the traffic is that Chattanooga is at the intersection of 4 major cities. It's located conveniently in the middle of Nashville, Knoxville, Birmingham, and Atlanta. So you have vehicles passing through from all of these cities, which definitely doesn't help the traffic situation. Another problem with Chattanooga is that there's a lack of congruency. And what I mean by this is that you have some areas that are really nice and really beautifully redone, where there's been a lot of investment, and then right next to them, there'll be areas that just don't match at all. I think the perfect example of this is Cambridge Square in Ottawa. Cambridge Square is a relatively new development, not too far from downtown Chattanooga. When you're in Cambridge Square itself, it's so beautiful. Everything's really nice. There's these beautiful brick buildings. Everything has a code. There's obviously covenants and restrictions on what you can build in there. But as soon as you exit this relatively small bubble, you're surrounded by a much more typical, less well-planned environment. I mean, it seems like a lot of Chattanooga is like this. There'll be really nice buildings in parts of downtown, and then just a few blocks away, there'll be an old, dilapidated building that's falling apart. Part of the reason for this is that in the 1980s, Chattanooga was a dying city. A lot of the manufacturing and industrial companies that were based in Chattanooga were beginning to leave, and as a result, you've got all these old buildings that are falling apart. While I do think that Chattanooga is getting better, there is a serious lack of congruency that comes from building new facilities and infrastructure on top of old city layouts. A fourth thing to consider if you're thinking about moving to Chattanooga is the lack of public transportation. Now, downtown there is a free electric shuttle bus and there is a larger public transit system called CARTA, but if you're thinking about moving to Chattanooga and you plan to use public transportation, then these are not efficient ways to get around. If you're planning to live downtown or on North Shore, there's a possibility that you can mostly get around with a bike or an e-bike. But with that being said, it's worth noting that Chattanooga does experience quite a bit of rain, and in the summer, it's pretty humid. So if your plan is to rely on a bike for transportation, then you could expect to get wet or be covered in sweat during at least parts of the year. The 5th and final reason I'm going to cover in this video on why you might want to reconsider moving to Chattanooga is allergies. In 2013, Chattanooga was listed as one of the top 10 allergy capitals in the US. Because Chattanooga is located in the southeast and it's relatively warm compared to the rest of the US, you have longer growing seasons, which means that in the spring and the fall, things are in bloom for longer. This and Chattanooga's location in the Tennessee Valley contribute to a higher pollen count, especially during spring and fall. Because Chattanooga is in a valley, sometimes the pollen can get trapped and just circulate in that valley instead of dispersing. For most people, this probably isn't a deal breaker, but it's worth noting if you're sensitive to pollen. Chattanooga is undoubtedly a city with a lot to offer. Its natural beauty, sense of community, and dynamic growth are undeniable. However, when you're choosing a place to live, it's important to consider both the positives and the negatives. That being said, here's a video that covers the 6 reasons that people are moving to Chattanooga. If you're thinking about moving to Chattanooga and you're looking for more insights on the area, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.